The giant metal doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a loud noise that echoed through the huge room. Ambassador Deho walked slowly into the chamber wearing his best black suit. His heart was beating fast, but his face looked calm and serious. Behind him walked his assistant, Ray, who carried a small bag with all the important papers about Earth. The chamber was so big that it could hold 1,000 people. The ceiling was so high that Deho could barely see the top. Bright lights came from everywhere, making the whole room glow like daylight, but what made Deho feel small were not the lights or the size of the room. It was the aliens sitting in their tall chairs looking down at him. On his left side sat the Vorthok Empire representatives. They looked like walking crystals that sparkled in different colors when light hit them. Their leader was a female called High Counselor Vex Thera. She was twice as tall as any human, and her crystal body made rainbow colors dance on the walls when she moved. Her eyes were like two bright blue diamonds that seemed to look right through. Dehun, his right side, were the snake-like Rilani delegates. Their bodies moved like water and their skin changed colors from green to purple to gold. Their ambassador was called Silreth, and he had no legs, just a long snake body that coiled and twisted while he watched the human with yellow eyes that never blinked. In front of Deho sat the most scary-looking aliens of all. The Threnody looked like giant insects with 6 arms and 4 eyes. Their leader Kliktar was as big as a small car. His black shell was covered with sharp spikes, and his mouth had teeth like broken glass. When he breathed, it sounded like wind blowing through dead leaves. There were other alien species too. Some looked like walking trees with bark skin and branch arms. Others looked like floating jellyfish that glowed in the dark. Some had fur, and some had scales, but they all had one thing in common. They all looked at Deho like he was something dirty they found on their shumi. Ray whispered very quietly to Deho, "Sir, they have been talking about us for an hour before we came in. None of it was good." Deho nodded slightly. He had expected this. The journey to reach this place had taken Earth 5 years to plan. They had built their fastest spaceship and traveled for months just to get here, and now he stood in front of the most powerful beings in the galaxy to ask for something that might be impossible. High Counselor Vex Thera raised one of her crystal hands, and the whole room became quiet. The sound stopped so suddenly that Deho could hear his own breathing. She looked down at him, and when she spoke, her voice sounded like glass-breaking human, she said, and the words sounded like something bad in her mouth. "You have come very far from your little world to stand before us. State your business quickly. We have important matters to discuss." Deho took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Honored members of the Galactic Council, I am Ambassador Deho of the planet Earth. I come here today to formally request that humanity be allowed to join the Galactic Alliance." The moment he finished speaking, the chamber erupted in noise. All the aliens started talking at once in their different languages. It sounded like a zoo where all the animals were angry. The Threnody made clicking sounds, the Rilani hissed like angry snakes, and the Vorthak made sounds like breaking glass. High Counselor Vex Thera hit her hand on her chair, and the noise stopped again. "Join the Alliance," she repeated, and then she started laughing. It was not a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh that made Deho feel cold inside. "Little primitive creature, do you understand what you are asking?" Deho kept his voice steady. "Yes, Counselor, I understand perfectly. We wish to become partners with the great civilizations of the galaxy. We can offer our knowledge, our friendship, and our commitment to peace." This time it was Ambassador Silreth who spoke. His voice was like oil sliding over rocks. "Knowledge," he hissed. "What knowledge could your species possibly possess that we do not already know? You have barely learned to leave your own star system. Your people still fight wars over pieces of dirt. Your technology is thousands of years behind ours." "Your species," added Kliktar in his voice like grinding metal, "has not even learned to control your own violent nature. You kill each other over resources that are common as dust in civilized space. You poison your own world and fight over scraps like wild animals." Miori felt her hands shake with anger, but Deho remained calm. He had prepared for this. He knew they would say these things. "Respected council members, it is true that humanity is young compared to your great civilizations. But we have something valuable to offer. We have survived and grown strong despite facing many challenges. We have learned to work together when we must. We have creativity and the ability to solve problems in new ways." "High Counselor," Vexthera leaned forward in her chair, making her crystal body sparkle more brightly. Challenges, she said mockingly. You think you're small world problems? Our challenges: we have conquered entire star systems. We have destroyed species that were far more advanced than you. We have built empires that span across galaxies. What challenges could possibly compare to our achievements? Another alien delegate stood up. This one looked like a walking tree with bark skin. The Zephyrians thought they were strong too. The tree alien said in a voice like wind through leaves. They had good technology and they fought bravely. But they learned to bow before the council, or they learned to die. There is no third choice. The Makari tried to resist us, said another alien that looked like a giant spider. They had powerful weapons and strong warriors, but their planet is now empty and their cities are dust. They chose poorly when they refused to accept their place. Deho felt a chill run down his back. These aliens were not just refusing his request. They were threatening him, but he had come too far to give up now. With respect, council members, we do not seek to challenge anyone. We seek only to join the community of civilized worlds. We believe that different species working together can achieve more than any species working alone. The chamber fell silent for a long moment. All the aliens looked at each other, sharing looks that Deho could not understand. Finally, High Counselor Vexthera spoke again. Human, she said slowly, your request is denied. Your species is too primitive, too violent, and too dangerous to be trusted with the responsibilities of alliance membership. Perhaps in a few thousand years, when you have learned to behave like civilized beings, you may ask again, but do not hold your breath waiting for that day. Furthermore, added Ambassador Silreth, let this serve as a warning to your people. The galaxy has an order, and that order must be maintained. Species that try to rise above their proper place learn painful lessons. We suggest you return to your little world and teach your people to be content with what they have. Deho felt his heart sink, but he was not surprised. He had known this was likely to happen. But he had to try. He had to give humanity a chance at peace. I understand your decision, council members, but I hope that someday you will see that humanity has much to offer the galaxy. The only thing your species will offer, said Kliktar with his grinding voice, is a lesson to other primitive worlds about what happens to those who reach too high. You may go now, human. Before we decide that your presence here is an insult that requires a response. Deho bowed respectfully and turned to leave. Ray followed close behind him. As they walked toward the giant doors, he could hear the aliens talking and laughing behind them. They were already discussing other business, as if the humans had never been there at all. But as they left the chamber, Deho was thinking about something. The aliens had said they had threatened Earth. They had made it clear that they saw humanity as a problem that might need to be solved, and in their arrogance they had revealed something important about themselves. They were bullies who had never been challenged by anyone who could fight back, and that was a mistake they would regret. 3 months had passed since Ambassador Deho returned from the Galactic Council with bad news. The people of Earth had hoped for friendship and partnership, but instead they got silence. Then everything changed on a cold morning in Seoul when Admiral Kyung-soo received a message that would shake the entire world. Admiral Kyung-soo was drinking his morning coffee in his office when his communication device started beeping with an urgent signal. The message came from Deep Space Monitoring stations that watched the edges of the solar system. What they had found made his coffee cup slip from his hands and crash to the floor. Lieutenant Jin Woo burst into the office without knocking, his face pale with fear. Admiral, you need to see this right now, he said, breathing hard. The long-range sensors have picked up something big, really big. Admiral Kyung-soo followed Jin Woo to the main command center, where dozens of technicians were working frantically at their computers. The main screen showed a view of space near the edge of the solar system, but it was not empty anymore. Hundreds of bright dots filled the screen, each one representing a massive alien spacecraft. How many ships? Admiral Kyung-soo asked, though he was afraid to hear the answer. 237 ships, sir, replied Captain So Young, who was studying the readings. Each one is at least 10 times bigger than our largest space station. Some of them are so big they could hold entire cities inside them. The alien fleet had positioned itself just outside the solar system like a pack of wolves waiting to attack. They were not hiding their presence. In fact, they seemed to want Earth to see them. The message was clear: we are here and we are strong. Dr. Hey. Jin, the lead scientist who studied alien life forms, was already analyzing the enemy ships. These are not exploration vessels, he said, pointing to the screen. Look at the shape, look at the weapon systems. These are warships built for one purpose: only to destroy other civilizations. Admiral Kyung-soo felt his stomach turn cold. He had spent his whole career preparing for possible alien contact, but he had always hoped it would be peaceful. This was his worst nightmare coming true. Have they sent any communication? He asked as, if answering his question, the main communication screen flickered to life. The face that appeared was terrifying beyond imagination. High Counselor Vex. Thera filled the screen, her crystal face reflecting light. In sharp, painful colors, when she spoke, her voice was like ice breaking. Humans of the planet Earth, she began, I am High Counselor Vex Thera of the Vorthic Empire. 3 months ago, your ambassador came before the Galactic Council begging like a dog for scraps from our table. We told him that your species was too primitive to join civilized society, but it seems you did not understand the lesson. The crystal alien paused, and her diamond eyes seemed to look directly at each person watching. Your species has become a problem. Your rapid expansion into space, your violent nature, and your refusal to accept your proper place in the galaxy order cannot be tolerated any longer. Admiral Kyung-soo signaled for his communication officer to record everything. The alien was about to deliver an ultimatum, and every word would be important. Therefore, High Counselor Vex, Thera continued, the Galactic Council has decided to offer you one final chance at survival. You have exactly 7 days to surrender unconditionally to the Vorthic Empire. You will submit to tributary status, which means you will serve us as slaves. You will give us whatever resources we demand. You will send us your strongest people to work in our mines and factories. You will never again attempt to expand beyond your solar system. The alien leaned closer to the camera, making her face even more terrifying. If you accept these generous terms, your species will be allowed to continue existing as servants. If you refuse, we will demonstrate why primitive species should not challenge their betters. Your cities will burn, your oceans will boil, and your world will become a lifeless rock floating in space as a warning to others. Captain So-young was taking notes. As fast as she could write, the aliens were not offering a choice between freedom and slavery. They were offering a choice between slavery and death. And they expected humanity to be grateful for the option. You have 7 days, High Counselor Vex. Thera repeated, use them wisely. Do not make the same mistake as the Zephyrians who chose pride over survival. Do not follow the path of the Makari who thought they could fight against superior beings. Choose to live as our servants or choose to die as fools. The choice is yours. A communication ended, leaving the command center in shocked silence. Everyone stared at the blank screen, trying to process what they had just heard. The most powerful military force in the galaxy had just declared war on Earth unless humanity surrendered completely. Dr. He Jin broke the silence first. They made a mistake, he said quietly. They told us exactly what they did to other species. They destroyed the Zephyrians and the Makari completely. These aliens do not take prisoners, and they do not show mercy. They are offering us slavery now, but eventually they will kill us anyway. Admiral Kyung-soo nodded grimly. They think we will panic. They think we will surrender immediately because we are afraid of their big ships. They do not understand that humans have been fighting against impossible odds for our entire history. Lieutenant Jin Woo looked confused. But sir, they have over 200 ships, each one bigger than anything we have ever built. How can we possibly fight against something like that? Captain So-young smiled, but it was not a happy smile. They made another mistake, she said. They gave us 7 days. They think 7 days is enough time for us to panic and surrender, but 7 days is also enough time for us to prepare. Admiral Kyung-soo was already thinking about Earth defenses. Every space station, every military base, every scientist and engineer would need to work together. Contact every government on Earth, he ordered. Contact every military commander, every space agency, every university. Call the president, call the prime ministers, call everyone. Tell them we have 7 days to prepare for the fight of our lives. The next few hours were chaos as news of the alien ultimatum spread around the world. Some people panicked and demanded that the government surrender immediately. Some people got angry and wanted to fight even though the odds seemed impossible. But something unexpected happened that surprised even the military leaders. Instead of falling apart, humanity started coming together. Countries that had been enemies for decades suddenly offered to help each other. Scientists shared research that had been secret for years. Engineers from different nations started working on the same project. Soldiers who spoke different languages trained together as if they had been teammates their whole lives. President Jin Wu addressed the world that evening. His speech was broadcast to every television, every radio, every computer, and every phone on Earth. My fellow humans, he began, today we received an ultimatum from aliens who believe they can force us to become their slaves. They offer us chains and call it mercy. They offer us servitude and call it generous. The president paused and looked directly into the camera. But they do not understand what they are dealing with. They see a young species that has not conquered other worlds, and they think we are weak. They see a species that sometimes fights among ourselves, and they think we cannot unite against a common enemy. They are about to learn that they are very, very wrong. Around the world, people watched and listened as their leader spoke words that would be remembered forever. These aliens have studied our history, but they have learned the wrong lessons. They see our wars and our conflicts, but they do not see our determination. They see our struggles, but they do not see our strength. They see our divisions, but they do not see what happens when humanity faces extinction. President Jin Wu stood up and his voice grew stronger. We will not surrender. We will not become slaves. We will not kneel before bullies who think might makes right. We are humans and we have never accepted defeat. When our survival was at stake, 7 days, they gave us 7 days to prepare for the fight that will determine whether our children live free or die in chains. The speech ended, but the work was just beginning. All around Earth, people were already moving. Factories that made cars started making weapons. Scientists who studied medicine started studying alien technology. Farmers who grew food started growing supplies for soldiers. Everyone had a job to do, and everyone knew that failure meant the end of everything they loved. The aliens had given humanity 7 days, thinking it would be enough time to despair. Instead, they had given humanity exactly what it needed, most time to remember that they were strongest when they stood together against impossible odds. The countdown had begun, but humanity was not counting down to surrender. They were counting down to the moment when the galaxy would learn what happened when you threatened the survival of the human race. 7 days later, the alien fleet moved closer to Earth, expecting to find a planet ready to surrender. Instead, they found something that confused and angered them beyond belief. The small blue planet was covered with new structures that had not been there a week before. Orbital defense platforms surrounded Earth like a metal shell. Asteroid mining stations had been turned into weapon platforms. Commercial ships had been converted into military vessels. Commander Yan Su watched the alien fleet approach from her command post on the moon. She had not slept in 3 days. None of them had. The past week had been the most intense period of construction and preparation in human history. Every factory on Earth had been working day and night. Every engineer, every scientist, every soldier had been pushing themselves to the limit. The alien fleet is hailing us, reported Sergeant Tae-ho from his communication station. It looks like they want to talk. Commander Yan Su nodded. Put them through to the main screen and make sure this transmission goes to every person on Earth. I want everyone to see this. The screen flickered and the terrifying face of Fleet Commander Vor Thek appeared. He was even more frightening than High Counselor Vex Thera. His crystal body was covered with sharp edges and his eyes glowed like blue fire. When he spoke, his voice sounded like mountains breaking apart. Humans, he began, and the word came out of his mouth like something disgusting. Your 7 days have ended. I see you have built some pathetic defenses around your world. These toys will not save you. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Continue this foolishness, and we will make your suffering last for generations, Commander. Yan Su was about to respond when something unexpected happened. The alien transmission was interrupted by another signal coming from Earth. But this was not from a government building or military base. It was coming from a small restaurant in the city of Busan. An elderly woman appeared on the screen. She was wearing a simple apron and holding a wooden spoon. Her name was Grandmother Yoon-hee, and she had been cooking dinner for her family when the alien message interrupted her television. program, she looked directly at the camera with the kind of expression that mothers and grandmothers around the world use when they are annoyed. "Excuse me, young man," she said in simple English, pointing her wooden spoon at the screen. "You are being very rude. You are interrupting my cooking show and scaring my grandchildren. I think your parents did not teach you proper manners." The alien fleet commander stared at the screen in complete shock. He had expected to see terrified government leaders begging for mercy. Instead, he was looking at an old woman who was scolding him like a misbehaving child. "Furthermore, Grandmother Yoon," he continued, "you are making too much noise with your big ships. My neighbors are complaining and I have to listen to them talk about it all day. If you want to visit Earth, you should call first and ask politely, like civilized people do." Around the world, humans watching the broadcast started laughing. Despite the fear, despite the impossible odds, despite facing annihilation, people were laughing at the sight of a grandmother giving the most powerful alien fleet in the galaxy a lesson in manners. Fleet Commander Vor Thick finally found his voice. "Old human," he said with rage, making his crystal body glow brighter, "you dare to speak to me with such disrespect. I am Fleet Commander Vor Thick of the Vorthek Empire. I have destroyed 1,000 worlds and killed billions of beings." Grandmother Yoon, he was not impressed. "That is terrible," she said, shaking her head. "Killing people is wrong. Your mother would be ashamed of you. I think you need to go home and think about what you have done. Maybe when you learn to behave properly, you can come back and apologize." The transmission from the restaurant ended, but the damage was done. The alien fleet had expected to face a terrified population begging for mercy. Instead, they had been lectured by a grandmother who treated their mighty fleet commander like a naughty child. Dr. He-jin, who had been monitoring alien communications from his laboratory, made an important discovery. "Commander," he called to Yan-su, "I am picking up confused chatter from their fleet. They are arguing among themselves. They do not understand how to respond to what just happened, Commander." Yan-su smiled. It was the first time she had smiled in a week. "They studied our military history, but they never studied our culture. They expected us to react like every other species they have conquered, but we are not like other species." The alien fleet had made a critical mistake. They had assumed that all intelligent species would react to threats the same way. They had profiles and charts and studies that told them exactly how primitive civilizations should behave when faced with superior force. They had never encountered a species that would respond to threats with humor and defiance. Lieutenant Min-ho reported from the orbital defense stations. The alien ships are beginning their attack pattern. They are targeting our major cities first, just like we predicted." Commander Yan-su activated the planetary defense network. "All stations, this is Commander Yan-su. Execute defense plan. Alpha, remember, we are not trying to win this battle in the traditional sense. We are trying to make them understand that conquering us will cost more than we are worth." The first alien attack came at dawn. The massive ships fired energy beams down at Earth, targeting government buildings, military bases, and major population centers, but the beams struck empty buildings and found hardened bunkers instead of soft targets. The aliens had expected to find centralized command structures like their own. Instead, they found that human leadership was spread out and hidden. Captain So Young commanded a group of converted civilian ships that had been turned into fighters. Her ship had originally been a cargo hauler that carried rice and electronics between Earth and the moon colonies. Now it was armed with improvised weapons and crewed by volunteers who had never served in any military. "All civilian ships, this is Captain So Young," she broadcast to her fleet. "Remember, we are not trying to destroy their ships. We are trying to make them angry and confused. Stay fast, stay mobile, and do not let them target you." The human fighters moved around the massive alien ships like angry wasps around giants. The alien vessels had been designed to fight other capital ships in organized battle formations. They had never been designed to fight small, fast-moving targets that attacked from unexpected directions. Lieutenant J. Young piloted one of the small fighters, and she was grinning as she dodged between the alien ships. "They are so big and slow," she radioed to her wingman. "It is like trying to fight butterflies with a hammer." The alien response was swift and brutal. When their precision strikes failed to break human resistance, they switched to area bombardment. Giant energy beams swept across Earth's surface, destroying Everything in their path, cities were turned to glass, forests became ash, and mountains were melted down to bare rock. But the bombardment did not have the effect the aliens expected. Instead of breaking human morale, it seemed to make resistance stronger. Every destroyed city was mourned, but it was also avenged. Every civilian death was reported, but it was also remembered as a reason to keep fighting. Commander Yan Su received reports from around the world. Seoul is gone. Tokyo is burning. New York is under attack, but with each report came another message. Defense grid is holding, civilian evacuations complete. Local resistance is organizing. The aliens had made another mistake. They had assumed that destroying cities would break human will to fight. Instead, they had eliminated the very things that might have made humans want to negotiate. They had turned a war of conquest into a war of survival. Dr. Hay Jin made another important discovery while studying the alien fleet. Commander, their ships are not designed for extended combat. They are designed for quick, overwhelming strikes against helpless targets. They expected this to be over in a few hours, but we have been fighting for 2 days. Their supply lines are stretched, and their crews are exhausted. Fleet Commander, VOR Thek was learning that conquering humans was nothing like conquering other species. Every tactic that had worked before was failing. Every assumption about primitive behavior was proving wrong. His massive fleet was being harassed by tiny ships piloted by beings who should have been cowering in fear. Status report, he demanded from his officers. Sir, we have destroyed several major population centers, but human resistance is actually increasing, reported his tactical officer. They are using hit-and-run tactics that we have never encountered before. Sir, added his communication officer, we are receiving thousands of transmissions from the planet. Most of them are insults and threats, but some of them are. He paused. Some of them are humans singing songs. Fleet Commander VOR Thek could not believe what he was hearing. Singing songs? Yes, sir. They appear to be singing traditional war songs and also what they call rock music. Some of the transmissions are humans playing musical instruments while their cities burn around them. This was beyond the alien commander understanding. Every species his people had conquered had either surrendered immediately or fought desperate last stands before being overwhelmed. Humans were doing neither. They were fighting a careful, calculated resistance while simultaneously expressing their defiance through art and music. The alien fleet had come to Earth expecting to find a primitive species that would kneel before superior force. Instead, they had found something that defied every assumption they had ever made about how intelligent life should behave, and they were. The real battle started on a Tuesday morning when the alien fleet realized that their overwhelming show of force had completely failed. Fleet Commander VOR Thek stared at his tactical displays in growing frustration. 2 weeks of bombardment had destroyed many human cities but had not broken human resistance. Instead, the attacks seemed to be making the humans fight harder. Report, he commanded his tactical officer. Sir, human resistance has increased by 40% since we began bombardment. Their hit-and-run attacks are causing significant damage to our smaller vessels. We have lost 12 ships to enemy action and 3 more to equipment failures caused by continuous combat operations. VOR Thek felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career. Uncertainty. Every previous conquest had followed the same pattern: a rival demonstration of overwhelming force, surrender, or quick annihilation. But humans were not following the script. Colonel Min Ho coordinated Earth defenses from a mobile command center hidden deep in the Korean mountains. The original command centers had been destroyed in the first wave of attacks, but humanity had prepared for this by creating dozens of backup command posts scattered around the world. Sir, we have confirmed that the alien boarding parties are having major problems, reported Captain Young Sik. They are not trained for close combat fighting. Their weapons are designed for ship-to-ship combat, not hand-to-hand fighting in narrow corridors. This was exactly what human planners had hoped for. The aliens had conquered other species using their superior technology and overwhelming firepower, but they had never faced an enemy that could force them into the kind of brutal close-quarters combat that humans had been perfecting for thousands of years. Lieutenant Su Jin commanded a boarding party that had just captured one of the smaller alien vessels. Colonel, she radioed back to headquarters, you need to hear this. The aliens on this ship were not soldiers. They were technicians and administrators. They had never even held weapons before this battle. This revelation changed everything. Colonel Minho had suspected that the alien military was built around technological superiority rather than warrior skills, but confirmation meant that human tactics could be adjusted to take advantage of this weakness, Captain. So Young led her civilian fleet in another attack against the alien formation. Her converted cargo ship danced between the massive alien vessels, launching improvised missiles and drawing enemy fire away from the more important targets. "They are getting frustrated," she reported. "They are breaking formation to chase individual ships instead of maintaining their defensive pattern." Dr. Jin monitored alien communications from his underground laboratory, and what he heard made him excited. "Colonel, the aliens are starting to make major tactical errors. They are abandoning their original battle plan and switching to what they call punitive operations. They are no longer trying to conquer us, they are trying to punish us." This shift from conquest to punishment was exactly what human strategists had been hoping for. An enemy trying to conquer would be careful to preserve valuable resources and infrastructure. An enemy trying to punish would focus on destruction, which played directly into human strength. The aliens had built their entire military doctrine around the idea that superior technology would guarantee victory. They had never considered that an enemy might refuse to fight on their terms. They had never planned for an opponent that would turn their own tactics against them. Commander Yansu received the report she had been waiting for. "Ma'am, Captain, So Young's civilian fleet has successfully captured intact alien vessel. They are bringing it to lunar base for analysis." The captured ship was a treasure trove of information about alien technology tactics, and most importantly, weaknesses. Dr. Jin led the team analyzing the alien vessel, and what they found exceeded all expectations. "Colonel," Dr. Jin reported, "their technology is incredibly advanced, but it is also incredibly specialized. Each system is designed to do one thing perfectly, but cannot adapt to unexpected situations. Their weapons are designed to fight other capital ships, not small, fast-moving targets. Their armor is designed to resist energy weapons, not kinetic impacts. Their life support systems are built for their own physiology and cannot handle the environmental changes we can create." But the most important discovery was about the aliens themselves. The captured crew members were not the terrifying warriors that humanity had expected. They were bureaucrats and technicians who had never expected to face actual combat. "They are not evil," Dr. Jin explained to the command staff. "They are just completely unprepared for this kind of fight. Their entire species has lived for so long as the dominant force in the galaxy that they have forgotten how to deal with real opposition." The alien prisoners were interrogated carefully, and what they revealed was shocking. The Vorthic Empire had conquered hundreds of species over thousands of years, but every single conquest had followed the same pattern: arrival, show of force, immediate surrender. The aliens had never fought a real war because they had never needed to. Lieutenant Colonel Parkhoon led the first successful ground assault against an alien landing force. The enemy had attempted to establish a base in the ruins of what had been the city of Inchin, but they had not expected to face human infantry in urban combat. "They have no idea how to fight in a city," Parkhoon reported after the successful attack. "Their weapons are too big for building-to-building combat. Their armor is too heavy for climbing stairs. And they have no training for dealing with civilian populations that support the resistance." The alien landing force had expected to face organized military units in open battle. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that appeared and disappeared like ghosts, using the ruined city as a weapon against its invaders' fleet. Commander Vorthek was receiving reports that made no sense to him. "Sir, the human resistance is growing stronger, not weaker. Our intelligence indicated that destroying their cities would break their will to fight, but the opposite appears to be happening." His communication officer added more disturbing news. "Sir, we are receiving reports from other sectors. The news of our difficulties here has spread throughout the galaxy. Several species that we previously conquered are showing signs of unrest." This was Vorthek's worst nightmare. The Vorthek Empire controlled dozens of species through fear and the perception of invincibility. If word spread that humans were successfully resisting, then other conquered peoples might start to think That rebellion was possible, sir. His tactical officer reported, "Human forces have captured another one of our vessels. They are learning our technology and using it against us. Some of their ships are now equipped with our own weapon systems." The humans were not just fighting the alien invasion, they were adapting to it. Every captured piece of technology was studied, copied, and improved. Every successful alien tactic was learned and countered. Human engineers were taking alien weapons and modifying them for human use. Human pilots were flying captured alien ships against their former owners. Captain So Young now commanded a mixed fleet of human and alien vessels. Her flagship was a captured alien cruiser that had been modified with human technology, creating a hybrid warship that combined the best of both civilizations. "Admiral," she reported to headquarters, "the aliens are starting to retreat from forward positions. They are consolidating their fleet into a defensive formation." This was the moment that human strategists had been working toward. The alien fleet was no longer attacking, it was defending. The psychological advantage had shifted from the invaders to the defenders. Admiral Kyung-soo addressed his commanders from the main war room. "The enemy came here expecting an easy victory over a primitive species. They found instead an opponent that refuses to be intimidated, that adapts faster than they can respond, and that turns their own weapons against them." Colonel Min-ho smiled grimly. "Sir, they made the classic mistake of believing their own propaganda. They convinced themselves that they were superior warriors when actually they were just bullies who had never faced real resistance." The battle was far from over, but something fundamental had changed. The aliens had come to Earth as conquerors, confident in their superiority. Now they found themselves trapped in a grinding war of attrition against an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with every passing day. Dr. Hae-jin provided the final piece of the puzzle. "Colonel, I have been analyzing their fleet composition and supply lines. They are not equipped for extended combat operations. They expected this to be finished in days, not weeks. Their ships are running low on ammunition. Their crews are exhausted, and their command structure is starting to break down." The aliens had made every possible mistake in their approach to conquering humanity. They had underestimated human determination, overestimated their own abilities, and most critically, they had given humans time to adapt and respond. As the battle entered its third week, it was becoming clear that the outcome would not be what anyone had expected. The species that was supposed to be conquered was instead conquering, and the mighty alien fleet was learning what happened when they chose the wrong enemy to fight. Admiral Kyung-soo stood in what remained of Seoul, looking at the melted glass and twisted metal that had once been the heart of South Korea. The alien bombardment had killed hundreds of thousands of people, but the survivors were already organizing rescue efforts and preparing for the next phase of the battle. "They still do not understand," said Dr. Hae-jin as he picked through the wreckage of his former laboratory. "Every city they destroy just proves to more humans that surrender is not an option. They are not breaking our will to fight, they are eliminating our ability to stop fighting." This was the fundamental difference between humans and every other species. The aliens had conquered other civilizations, had things they wanted to protect: cities, governments, treasures that made surrender preferable to destruction. Humans had already lost most of what they treasured, but instead of breaking them, it had freed them to fight without holding back. Commander Yeon-soo coordinated global defense operations from her new mobile command center hidden in the Tibet Mountains. "The alien fleet is showing signs of serious strain," she reported during the daily briefing. "Their formation is becoming looser, their response times are getting slower, and intercepted communications show growing disagreement among their commanders." The alien fleet had expected to complete their conquest in a matter of days. Instead, they had been fighting for a month with no end in sight. Their ships had been designed for quick, overwhelming strikes, not extended siege operations. Their crews were exhausted, their supply lines were stretched, and their confidence was shattered. Captain So Young led the largest human counterattack of the war. Her fleet now consisted of both human and captured alien vessels, working together with devastating effectiveness. "All ships, this is Captain So Young," she broadcast. "Target the alien supply convoy. Remember, we are not just trying to hurt them, we are trying to make them understand that staying here costs more than leaving." The attack on the alien supply convoy was a complete success. Human fighters swarmed the slower transport ships while captured alien vessels provided heavy firepower. The convoy was destroyed, and with it went weeks' worth of ammunition, food, and replacement parts for the alien fleet, but the real victory was not the destruction of supplies. It was the message it sent. The aliens had thought they were fighting primitive savages, armed with crude weapons. Instead, they found themselves outmaneuvered by an enemy using their own technology against them. Fleet Commander VOR Thick received the news of the convoy destruction with growing despair. His crystal form had developed stress cracks, visible signs of the impossible pressure he was under. "How many ships did we lose?" he asked his tactical officer. 17 transport vessels, 3 escort cruisers, and 1 heavy battleship, sir. The humans used our own weapons against us. They have learned to operate our technology better than some of our own crews. This was VOR Thick's worst fear realized. The humans were not just resisting, they were adapting. They were taking alien technology and improving it, combining it with their own innovations to create hybrid weapons that were more effective than either human or alien technology alone. Lieutenant Colonel Park, who led a ground assault that would become legendary in human military history, his target was the alien orbital bombardment platform that had been responsible for destroying Seoul. The platform was heavily defended and considered impregnable, but Park Hoon had a plan that the aliens could never have anticipated. "Remember," he told his assault team as they prepared for the attack, "they built this platform to attack targets on the ground. They never expected anyone to attack them. Our job is to show them that humans can fight anywhere." The assault began with captured alien fighters creating a distraction, while human commandos used stolen alien transport ships to land directly on the platform. The alien defenders were completely unprepared for hand-to-hand combat in the corridors of their own base. "They fight like robots," Park Hoon reported as his team advanced through the platform. "They have procedures for everything, but when the procedures do not work, they do not know what to do." The capture of the orbital bombardment platform was a turning point in the war for several reasons. First, it eliminated one of the alien most effective weapons against Earth. Second, it provided humans with detailed intelligence about alien technology and tactics, but most importantly, it proved that no alien position was safe from human attack. Dr. Hae-jin made a breakthrough discovery while analyzing data from the captured platform. "Admiral, the aliens have a fatal flaw in their command structure. Everything is centralized through a single command ship. If we can identify and target that ship, we can cripple their entire fleet." The alien command ship was the largest vessel in the fleet, protected by multiple layers of escorts and defensive systems, but humans had learned that no defense was perfect if you were willing to pay the price to break it. Captain So Young volunteered to lead the attack on the command ship, even though everyone knew it would likely be a suicide mission. "Admiral," she said, "my ship is armed with a captured alien weapon that can penetrate their shields. If I can get close enough, I can cripple their command center." Admiral Kyung-soo did not want to send Captain So Young on what appeared to be a suicide mission, but he also knew that this might be humanity's only chance to end the war. "Captain, you understand that this is a one-way mission?" Captain So Young smiled. "Sir, with respect, every mission has been a one-way mission from the moment they arrived. We are all fighting for the same thing, the right of our children to live free. If my sacrifice can help achieve that, then it is not really a sacrifice at all." The attack on the alien command ship began at dawn. Human fighters from around the world converged on the alien fleet in the largest coordinated assault of the war. Their job was to create enough chaos and confusion to allow Captain So Young's ship to penetrate the enemy defenses. "All human forces, this is Captain So Young beginning final approach," she broadcast as her ship accelerated toward the massive alien command vessel. "It has been an honor to fight alongside all of you." The alien defenses concentrated their fire on Captain So Young's ship, but it was too late. Her vessel, armed with hybrid human-alien technology, smashed through their shields and slammed into the command ship. Bridge. The explosion could be seen from Earth's surface like a new star being born. Fleet Commander VOR Thack felt his ship shudder from the impact and knew that everything had changed. The human attack had not just damaged his vessel, it had destroyed the central command systems that coordinated the entire fleet. Each ship was now operating independently without The coordination that made the fleet effective, sir, his communication officer reported. We are receiving surrender offers from human forces. They are offering to allow us to withdraw from the system if we cease all hostile actions immediately. That crystal form flickered with emotion he had never felt before. The humans were offering him mercy after he had tried to enslave or destroy them. It was beyond his understanding. Why would they show kindness to an enemy that had shown them none? But even more confusing was what happened next. Human ships began transmitting medical assistance to damaged alien vessels. Human rescue teams offered to help evacuate crews from crippled alien ships. The species that the aliens had tried to conquer was now trying to save alien lives. Hey, Jin, monitoring alien communications, heard something that gave him hope. Admiral, the alien fleet is receiving messages from their home worlds. Other species in their empire are rebelling. The news of our resistance has spread, and other conquered peoples are rising up. The Vorthic Empire was collapsing. The species that had maintained control through fear and intimidation found that fear was no longer enough. When their subjects realized that resistance was possible, Admiral Kyung-soo addressed the surviving alien fleet. Fleet Commander Vorthek, this is Admiral Kyung-soo of Earth Defense Forces. We offer you safe passage out of our system if you agree to cease all hostile actions. We have no desire to continue this war if it can be ended peacefully. The transmission that came back was barely audible. Vorthek crystal form was cracked and flickering, his voice weak with exhaustion. Admiral Kyung-soo, we did not understand what we were facing. We thought you were like the others, weak and easily broken. We were wrong. The alien fleet began to withdraw, but their troubles were far from over. The galaxy had changed while they had been trying to conquer Earth. Other species had been watching and learning. The age of Vorthek dominance was ending, and a new era was beginning. An era where species like humanity proved that strength came not from the size of your fleet or the power of your weapons, but from the determination to never surrender your freedom, no matter the cost. The end came not with a great final battle, but with a simple recognition of reality. Fleet Commander Vorthek stood in his damaged command chamber, staring at reports that told the story of complete failure. Half his fleet was destroyed or crippled. The other half was barely functional. After weeks of constant fighting, Earth cities lay in ruins, but humanity was still fighting stronger than ever. Sir, his aide reported with fear in his crystalline voice, the Threnody delegation is requesting immediate withdrawal of their forces. They say the cost of this operation has exceeded all acceptable parameters. The Rilani ambassador is also asking for permission to negotiate separate peace terms with the humans. Vorthek felt his crystal form developing more stress fractures. The mighty alliance that had seemed so powerful when they arrived at Earth was falling apart. Species that had been allies for centuries were abandoning the Vorthic Empire rather than continue a war that seemed impossible to win. The final blow came when his communication officer delivered news that shattered what remained of Vorthek confidence. Sir, we are receiving reports from the homeworlds. The Zephyrian survivors have declared independence and are attacking our garrison forces. The Makari refugees have joined them. Several other conquered species are also in open rebellion. This was the ultimate nightmare scenario. The Vorthic Empire had control